So there's been an increase in drug trafficking across South African borders and ports over the festive period. Joint operations between the police and the Defence Force have led to the confiscation of contraband, drugs and counterfeit branded clothing. To help us understand the extent of the problem, I'm joined tonight in studio by Andy Mashaile, Interpol Ambassador. Very good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for coming into studio today. How would you sum up the scale of this problem in South Africa at the moment?
Very massive. Massive from the point of view that teaches you and I that South Africa is the cornerstone of drug distribution. We are a transit point for drugs to be dropped in Australia, in Mozambique, in Botswana, in Zimbabwe, the eastern part of Africa. We are second best compared to Guinea-Bissau in the west, which is referred to as the narco state. This is massive because of the involvement of officials at border posts and at ports like OR Tambo. You remember in 2020, 16 police officers were arrested for systematically stealing the drugs that are confiscated from the drug runners or the drug mules that are sent by drug dealers overseas and back.
Right. And what about South Africa has put us in a position where we are so vulnerable, but where criminals also believe that as a transit point, we're actually quite key to exploit?
Criminals look, the modus operandi of the criminals, they look at the laxity at the border posts, and they also look at the ports of entry into our country. Where there is lax security, where security is not talking to arrest, detention, prosecution and conviction, your criminal justice cluster, they would drop a huge amount of drugs. The Global Initiative released a report 6 days ago on transnational organized crime. 122 tons of cocaine is being dropped in this country for distribution once again to the eastern part of Africa as well as Europe. 22 tons are for consumption in South Africa. So that tells you and I that we have a responsibility to rise to ensure that we protect life, limb, and the children as well as the future generations of South Africa.
And on that report that you're talking about, of 190-odd countries, we're in fact in the top 20, number 19, I think, for this sort of crime.
If we are in the top 20, you know that if it were football, we would say this is a good country to play for. But in this space, this is a crime index. That crime index, the higher you are on the index, it means the more bad you are in terms of creating an enabling environment for crime to obtain. Remember also that drugs are one of the generators of crime. When they are high, they would put the guns on our heads to hijack us. They would come into our houses at night. They would do funny things. So when we look at crime when you look at drugs as a generator of crime and look at an enabling environment, we have got a lot to do. And this must be an intelligence-driven operation.
An intelligence-driven operation, but it's not a new analysis, a diagnosis of the problem. And even as you were saying, the discovery in years prior of people who work for border authorities actually participating in the movement of illicit substances such as drugs, fake goods and the rest of it. Why has it not been arrested? Why has it not been put to an end?
Because of the lucrativeness of that space, from the bribery part of the drug dealers to our officials, be them home affairs, be them police, be them defense in that space. Those who are targeting our country will go to all extents to make sure that they weaken your security system through the people. Remember, any value chain, security value chain, the weakest link thereof are human beings.
And is it mainly domestic syndicates, domestic criminals, or more international rings that are moving all of this stuff in and out of the country?
International syndicates. Your guys here at home are what you and I should refer to as runners. Those who must make sure that they collect the cargo from Durban at the Durban ports, which is a sweet spot for drug trafficking from Latin America, from all over the world that deals with drugs, your Brazil. It comes in there, people get hand washed, and they ensure that when these vehicles go that come into the country or trucks, they bring that stuff into the country, and they make sure that the ships that are going to other parts of the world, of Africa and of the continent, Europe, they are able to load that stuff. So our guys are just runners.
And how true is it, just on that point, that the people who we hear about being arrested or at Tambo, Cape Town International, are in often cases decoys? They are arrested, but the larger sum of drugs still makes it onto a plane to be flown, as you were saying earlier, to a place like Australia, for instance.
It is correct. You have darts, you have sacrificial lambs that get slaughtered. When they are slaughtered, all other people who are part and parcel of the syndicate get to pass through. It's on a sizable account and times that we have seen this happening. It's part of the strategy of the drug dealers. Those who are gullible, those who are material driven. There's a few females, young ladies in my community who spent 2 years in China, and the other one spent about a year in Brazil. She just came back. They were used to go and collect drugs, and they looked at the benefits, and they didn't look at the risk element of your risk-benefit analysis. And
let's talk about that, because the other layer to this is people are recruited under false pretenses sometimes and told that we just need you to carry a suitcase and drop it off in, let's say, Brazil for a large sum of cash. And if you are, as many of us are in South Africa, young and poor, desperate for money, it sounds attractive, but a lot of them are then in foreign jails with no way to get out.
Tembi, let's start off by how I would behave in that space that space. Zero trust. Trust no one, especially people who are seen driving these fake cars, and fake cars meaning these cars that are expensive, and we know that these people do not work, particularly foreign nationals. Foreign nationals are responsible for 90% of our people who are languishing in foreign jails. Zero trust. Trust no one. They must prove to you why is it that you've got to go there, why is it that they cannot go there. And I am also mindful of the fact that greed makes our young people to lose focus and find themselves languishing in foreign jails.
You say foreign nationals are responsible for the bulk of that. Is there a statistical breakdown?
The statistical breakdown, you can find it when you look at the arrest, prosecution and convictions at the 112 plus police station. I'm not aware of any research, and I am not being xenophobic, and I am not saying it's foreign nationals. I'm saying a huge chunk of this crime is committed by foreign nationals.
So what is then being done by agencies such as yourself, as Interpol, and the local authorities here in South Africa? We know the problem. What's being done to fix it?
A country that is looking for Tembekile Mkhototo, if he has ran away, is a fugitive from the law, would go to Interpol and say, this man is a drug dealer, and this man is from Italy, this man is a gang member of an organization called Drangheta that corrupts judges, officials, and the rest of the people. Interpol in that space would then communicate with the local law enforcement in country A, and country B, where this particular person has fled to. So there is movement internationally to deal with the question of drugs, to deal with the question of illegal, fake, counterfeit goods, if we put it like that.
Right. And is it difficult to track down the kingpins, especially because they've got runners, as you were telling us earlier, they're not doing the actual dirty work or the handling of the drugs, the contraband?
It is difficult to get to the main man, the boss. But when the police do what they do best, and they give those suspects coffee and coffee and muffins, they do talk to a large extent how the operation is structured and how to get to the boss and who gets to the boss.
Right, and let's talk about alcohol and cigarettes, because the two are the most popular forms of contraband that actually move in and out of the country. Where are those destinations? Are they being moved for commercial use?
When they are moved into our country, you find a pack of cigarettes being sold for 20 rands. And tax on a packet of cigarette, it's 20 rand 1 cent. So it means these people, when they sell these cigarettes, your RGs, your Canelix, and all those others that we have learned, and it's public knowledge that they are being accused of bringing and selling these goods. You find that these particular persons and people are, one, tax evaders, two, because the way and manner in which these cigarettes are manufactured is not a very healthy one, contributing towards the medical problems in our country.
And to what extent, from Interpol's assessment, has or did the COVID-related lockdowns and the ban on the sale of tobacco contribute to that? Because in South Africa, tobacco companies argued at length at the time when the cigarettes or the sale of cigarettes was banned, that would in fact lead to a growth of the illicit cigarettes trade.
The illicit cigarettes trade exceeds the legal trade of the legal cigarettes that are being sold. One, it tells you that that argument, to a large extent, added value. Even if your country or any other country would have opened up the cigarette trade, you would still find illegal cigarettes coming into the country and being sold at a cheaper rate. People change loyalty because they want to smoke, because they want to fix the stuff that's in their brain, and they would go for the cheaper stuff. So long story short, the argument by the Cigarettes Association, your British American tobacco, was logical, but you find that they would not have had the power to stop illegal cigarettes from being sold. So
it would have continued whether there had been a lockdown ban
or not. Yes.
Mr. Andy Mashaile, good to speak to you. Thank you so much for coming in tonight.
It's a blessing to be on the show.
Thank you.